Today's Pledge of Allegiance is by Virginia Houghton, Charlotte McCarthy, Lindsay Burridge, Cam Pedersen from Boulder High School, and they are the daughter and guests of Representative Houghton.
Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the roll.
Representatives Arndt, Becker J, Becker K, Beckman, Benavides,
It's a little bit of scribbled, but
Bridges,
All right, thank you so much.
Representative Bridges,
Excused.
Buck, Buckner, Carver, Catlin, Coleman, Covarrubias, excused, Danielson, Escar, Everett,
I'd like to amend the journal. Oh, wait,
Exum, Foot, Garnett, Janal, Gray, Hamner, Hanson, Herod, Houghton, Representative Houghton. Oh, thank you. Humphrey, Jackson, Jackson, Kennedy, Kraft-Tharp, Landgraf, Lawrence, Representative Lawrence, Lebsock, Lee, Representative Lee, oh, thank you. Leonard, Lewis, Liston, Lontine, Lundeen, Lundeen,
Excused.
McKean, McLaughlin, Melton, Michelson-Janae, Representative Michelson-Janae,
Excused.
Mitch Bush, Navarro, Neville, Nordberg, excused,
Thank you, though.
Pabon, Pedersen, Representative Pedersen,
Excused.
Rankin, gotcha, Ransom, Rosenthal, Sane, Salazar, Sias, Singer, Thurlow, Valdez,
Good morning, Colorado.
Van Winkle, Weissman, Willett, Williams, excused, Wilson, Winter, Wist, Young, Madam Speaker.
Present.
Bridges, Covarrubias, Michael St. Janae, Nordberg, and Williams. Let's see. Yeah. Quite a few out.
With 59 present and 6 excused, we have a quorum. Would somebody like to approve the journal? Good morning, Representative Kennedy.
Good morning, Madam Speaker. I'm going to try to do this without a script. I move that the Journal of Thursday, House 23rd, be dispensed with and approved as corrected by the Chief Clerk.
Nicely done.
I see a lot of people moving their mouths, but I don't see what they're saying. March 23rd. I'm sorry. House District 23 is in my brain. That count as a proper motion?
Nicely done. All right, members, you have heard the motion. All of those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed signify by saying no. Motion passes. Announcements and introductions. Announcements and introductions. Representative Valdez, good morning.
Good morning, Madam Speaker. Thank you. Good morning, members. With the snowpack in Colorado for statewide at 110%, and we're still getting moisture in our mountains. The Upper Rio Grande has 115%, and the Arkansas has a 96% snowpack for the state. And can we go to Exhibit B on the big screen? With the most snow in our ski resort, Wolf Creek Ski Area has 127 inches. Let's go out and enjoy the snow this weekend. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Representative Valdez. Representative Mitch Bush.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Representative Valdez. Yes, indeedy, it's time to vote for snow. It has been snowing in different places in the mountains. For example, Vail got 2 inches overnight and has a 47-inch base. Vail, like nowhere on earth. Beaver Creek, home of the Birds of Prey downhill course, got 5 inches overnight. It has a 50-inch base. And Steamboat Springs didn't get any. Steamboat Resort in Steamboat Springs didn't get any, but it will get it over the weekend, and it has an 87-inch base. So wherever you go, the skiing will be great.
Representative Salazar.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Despite the massive blizzard we suffered here in the Denver proper area, March Powwow is still going on. You could put on your snow boots and go on over to the Denver Coliseum. I know it's going to be really difficult for some. I have a really big Jeep that I can haul you guys over there if you need a lift. But Denver March Powwow grand entry starts in just a couple of hours, 2 hours and 16 minutes. It's going to be beautiful. And also, welcome to our wonderful community members from the Persian American community. Love you guys.
Hello and welcome to the Capitol. Good to see you. Further announcements or introductions, Representative Herod.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, I just want to thank everyone for bringing their gently used men's shoes. We have completed the Souls for a Soul drive. Today will be the last day. However, if you have forgotten to bring your shoes or you want to spend this snowed-in weekend going through your closet, please still bring them to me. I'm happy to drop them off and make sure that all of our men who are in need have a nice pair of shoes, especially those cowboy boots I know you guys want to give up. Thank you.
All right. Further announcements or introductions?
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Hooton.
Yes, Madam. Members, we have exciting news to share. Majority Leader Becker and I, along with State Senator Fenberg, are delighted to welcome the Boulder High Panthers soccer team, their coach, Hardy Kalischer, and athletic director, Eddie Hartnett, Jenny Bernstein, and co-captains Cam Peterson and Nick McCabe. This is
Hold on just a second. Can you gavel, folks?
Members?
This is the second time in 5 years that Coach Kalischer has led the Panthers to a statewide championship, and the third time in 5 years to the state finals. In recognition of that achievement, Coach Kalischer was named National High School Soccer Coach of the Year. Congratulations, Coach, and to the Panthers. I'd also like to take a moment to introduce my daughter, Virginia Hooten, a senior at Boulder High and their student body president. She is joined by Student Council Vice President Charlotte McCarthy and Lindsay Burridge. Ginny was first elected to office when she was a freshman at Boulder High, and I am honored to follow her tradition. So thank you, members, for welcoming our state champs. Go Panthers!
Go Panthers! Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This team, they're like celebrities to my little guys who are just starting out playing soccer. And I want to list some of their awards over the last several years. So they're 5A state champions in 2012 and 2016, 5A state finalists in 2014, 5A state semifinalists in 2013 and 2010, national top 1 ranking in 2016, national top 15 ranking in 2015, the Far West U.S. #1 ranking in 2016, Far West U.S. top 15 ranking in 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, 2016. Colorado's #1 ranked team in 2015 and 2016. And actually there are several more. And I just want to say soccer's the fastest growing sport in the United States. And Colorado's got consistently one of the best teams in the country. So just a quick, I'm so proud of these guys. Another round of applause for our state and national champions.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Further announcements and introductions. Any further announcements and introductions? Seeing no further announcements or introductions, Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move to proceed out of order for the immediate consideration of HJR 1019.
Seeing no objection, we will proceed out of order for the immediate consideration of HJR 1019. Representative Cyrus.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, I move HJR 1019 and ask that it be read at length.
Whereas amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, or ALS, was first discovered in the 19th century, but it wasn't until the late 1930s when the Yankees' iron horse, Lou Gehrig, was diagnosed that national attention was brought to this agonizing and lethal disease. And whereas ALS attacks nerve cells, the building blocks of our nervous system, which send and receive electrical sparks of information, they begin to wither, as do the patient's muscles and their ability to speak, eat, swallow, and breathe. And whereas, according to the ALS Association, each day approximately 15 people are told they have the disease, people who may have just gone to the doctor because they found themselves tripping more often or dropping things. And whereas the disease has no boundaries and no bigotries, it affects more than approximately 30,000 people in the United States and has no known cause and, as of yet, no known cure. And whereas, for reasons that are not yet understood, ALS is twice as likely to afflict veterans. Since 2008, the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs has recognized ALS as a service-connected disease. And whereas the voluntary ALS registry, signed into law by Congress in 2008, was created to encourage ALS patients to securely submit information about their health. The data is collected to help the medical community advance research and understanding about the disease. Though it has been underutilized, the registry also serves as an important communications resource, providing updated information to patients about clinical trials. And whereas efforts to understand, treat, and cure ALS are also happening locally at clinics and hospitals and in hospital systems throughout Colorado. And whereas another treatment avenue for ALS patients was passed by the Colorado General Assembly in 2014, the Right to Try bill, the first of its kind in the nation, gives patients access to experimental therapies and medicines that have not yet been approved by the Food and Drug Administration. And whereas it is vitally important to increase the awareness of ALS and to support public and private efforts taking place in Colorado and across the continents to continue the profound impact made by millions during the Ice Bucket Challenge in 2014, which was put on by the ALS Association. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the House of Representatives of the 71st General Assembly of the State of Colorado, the Senate concurring herein, that the Colorado General Assembly urge pharmaceutical companies through the Right to Try law to make experimental therapies and medicines available to people in Colorado with ALS. Acknowledge the men and women who are collaborating to find the cause and the cure for ALS in Colorado and across the country and the world. Encourage ALS patients to register with the Federal ALS Registry. Increase awareness of and education about ALS and the difficulties of living with it. Recognize the courageous patients of this enigmatic and tragic disease and their equally courageous families and caregivers, and do everything possible as a legislative body to help them. And increase efforts to encourage and work with the United States Congress to do everything possible to end ALS.
Representative Zayas.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and members. Please be seated. You know, you never know how your involvement with a particular issue or bill will begin, and this one actually started with a letter, and it was a letter not to me but to my predecessor, Representative Szabo, which arrived after she had left, and I confess probably spent longer on my desk unopened than it should have. But when I opened it, it was from a woman by the name of Nicole Simbora, who is here with us today, telling the story of their family and their family's association and very, very personal involvement with this disease. And over the course of the intervening period, I came to know their family, visited with them in their home, and learned at least a little bit from an outsider's perspective on what this disease does to individuals and to families, and frankly, how little we know about it and how much is left to be done. Much of many of those issues were folded into the text of that resolution, so I don't want to belabor them. But you know, first of all, it comes absolutely out of nowhere. Mike Simbora, who I will introduce in a moment, who is seated over there and suffers from this disease, was not that long ago an ultramarathoner who one day just discovered that things weren't working as well as they previously had, and now finds himself with this disease. It does tend to afflict veterans more for some unexplained reason. We don't know how many people have it. That's part of the problem, is how we collect the data. And there's also an interaction with people that suffer from this and our regulatory process, which is incredibly frustrating. Let me give you an example. Mike was fortunate enough to participate in a clinical trial for a drug that actually improved his case, actually improved his situation. And yet, when that clinical trial was done, he was unable to continue on that medication, despite the fact that this disease has a life expectancy of 2 to 5 years. There's something wrong with that. And we have legislation in Colorado that was introduced and passed in 2014 by Representative Janal, from Representative Joshi, regarding right to try, and yet, despite the existence of that legislation, Mike has of yet not been able to use that legislation to gain access to that drug. So we have some ongoing, tremendous ongoing issues. There is a financial impact that these families feel where, you know, unless you are so wealthy that you can stroke a check and not worry about it, or on the other hand, you are bankrupt, the financial burden is absolutely crippling. And this is 24/7 care, including multiple incidents of care during any typical night of the week. So it's very, very debilitating on the individual and on the family. We will be having our ALS caucus today. The Lieutenant Governor will be there. Folks from Anschutz Medical Center will be there. Folks from the ALS Society will be there, and I encourage all of you to, in the midst of your busy schedules, drop in for a minute and learn just a little bit about this. If I could, Madam Speaker, I wanted to introduce several people who are here. First of all, there is the Simbora family. We have Mike and Nicole, Ellie, and Aiden. Please stand, folks. We have Angela Tucker, Jack Tucker, and Leonard Calejo. And we also have, I believe they have other family and friends in the gallery as well. And from the ALS Association, we have Leslie Ryan, Pamela Rush Negri, and Mary King. And please, thank you for all that you do. And Madam Speaker, I would like to preemptively ask when others are finished speaking if we could have a brief recess to allow folks to greet them, but also to allow the sergeants to escort Mike out so he doesn't have to endure the rest of the morning with us, and can have a tour and a rest before the caucus. But thank you all so much, and please, when we conclude here, take a moment. This is a but for the grace of God situation, and we can all take a moment here. Thank you all very much.
Representative Singer.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Representative Sias, for bringing some attention to this. We all remember a couple summers ago, there was that ice bucket challenge. We raised some awareness, raised some money, raised a few goosebumps. But here we are. And what I always try to do is I try to put myself in the shoes of those that we're trying to do the best we can for. So imagine for a second, this disease primarily affects people between the ages of 55 and 75, but you can be younger, you can be older. Imagine though, you're 45, 55 years old, maybe sort of the prime of your financial earning life, getting ready for your nest egg, maybe getting your kid through the last leg in college, you're just starting to think about how you're gonna settle up for retirement, and you get a diagnosis. It turns everything around. Imagine for a second what that would be like for you. Not only are you worried about yourself, worried about what it's going to be like not only to start to lose some sensation and mobility in your arms or your legs, but ultimately be put on a feeding tube because you can no longer even raise a spoon to your mouth or even chew. You lose the ability to speak, even though your mind is still wildly alive. Imagine, as one person put it to me, that you're laying in bed one day with ALS and a mosquito lands right behind your ear. You can't swat it away. You can't even ask for help. You're just there in that moment with you and your thoughts. That's what ALS is. At the same time, though, I want you to think that we can do something about this. We passed a bill several years ago. It was a bipartisan bill. And there's still more that we can do, not only to raise awareness, but make sure that we're consolidating our research and putting our best scientists and best minds to this. Because, well, I thought this was actually a fairly rare disease. Every 90 minutes, someone is diagnosed with ALS. Every 90 minutes. So this isn't just a short-term fix. This is going to be a long haul. Everyone with Lou Gehrig's, everyone with ALS realizes this, and I am so grateful that people are willing to stand up, and the family members who've set aside their own lives to take care of those struggling are here to join us to bring shed a little bit more light onto something that we can do a little bit more about. And, you know, I wish it was as simple as a meme. I wish it was as simple as just a funny video that we could all show on Facebook and change the world, but we can't. And so with that, I look forward to hearing what other folks have to say. I know that Rep. Sias's aide asked that I, engage in the Ice Bucket Challenge. But I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. But I got your attention now. So with that, Madam Speaker, thank you, and I encourage your support for House Joint Resolution 1019.
Thank you, Representative Singer. I was a little nervous. Representative Van Winkle.
Oh, thank you, Madam Speaker, and a special, very heartfelt thank you to Representative Sias and Representative Singer for bringing this resolution to us today. Representative Sias, I believe one of the very first conversations that you and I ever had in these hollow chambers was about the Sabora family. You found me across the room and told me their story and told me about how you sat down in their living room and got to know them. And I regret that I haven't gotten to know the Sabora family as well as you have. And of course, I've been to a fundraiser in some events, but I suppose the reason, members, is because it scares me. It's a horrible disease, a terrible disease. And in my family, we're dealing with the disease right now. It scares me to look into the future. The Sabora family is probably a year or two more advanced than my family. I've seen the tough decisions they've had to make, like, can we still live here? How can we get the carpet out of the house? How can we get a new shower that can fit a wheelchair? 1,000 other things. We've prayed, my family has prayed the tough prayers. Prayers like, Father God, please let my uncle see his son's wedding. Please, Father God, let my uncle hold his grandbaby to later this year. And my uncle would not want us to be sad today. He would not want me to be sad today. I'm sorry for the tears. He's one of the most optimistic, probably the most optimistic person I've ever met in my life. He's loving and kind. And I haven't met too many people like that. What he would want from us today is that we raise awareness for this disease. That, like my shirt says here, that we take a step towards the cure. The Ice Bucket Challenge was mentioned. That raised millions of dollars, millions and millions of dollars for ALS research. And you can go to the ALS Association website and you can see exactly what every single dollar went to. It went and it made a big difference. Those millions of dollars. You can see exactly how they made a difference in this area of research and that area of research. And we are getting closer to a cure. I just, in closing, would like to thank again Representative Singer and Sias for bringing this resolution, because if we, in a small part today, in these hollow chambers, can raise awareness for ALS, raise money for ALS, then we really, truly are taking a step towards a cure, and I thank you for it.
Representative Ransom.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you for sharing that story, Representative Van Winkle. And thank you to the sponsors for bringing us. Some of you may not know that my father-in-law died of ALS 12 years ago. So the description that Representative Singer gave, I actually watched that happen. I was in the house, we were visiting, and when we got there, he lived out of state, and when we had arrived, he could write on his board, he couldn't talk, he couldn't move, he had the tubes and the the breathing, but his brain worked, and he could work. He had a blackboard that he could write things, and he would ask short questions with just a few words, and then we could talk back, and we could respond and talk to him and let him know what the kids are doing and what we're doing, and it was so hard to see because his brain was just fine. There was nothing wrong. He totally understood, yet nothing in his body could respond, could work. The speaking, the breathing, the eating, the drinking was all, he was unable to do it. And then just a couple days later, we were there for a week on vacation, and by the end of the week, he died on the day before we left. So it was, we hadn't expected to have the downfall, but I was glad that we were there. But anyway, again, thank you to the sponsors, and just remember that those descriptions that Representative Singer said, they really are accurate. You know, being locked in, they talk about being locked in, and I can't begin to be enough grateful to the people that are bringing this, so that we can take a small step towards that cure.
Representative Janelle.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you to Representative Sias and to Representative Singer for bringing forth HJR 1019. I too rise in support. I've had several friends and colleagues over the years that have suffered from this terrible disease. Watch them go from active, young, wonderful people who still are wonderful people but can't be active anymore, and then move to a wheelchair, and then move to a point where their only help is through a straw and eating through a straw, various things. It really, it not only affects the friends and the patients themselves, but it affects the families, and it affects the caregivers, which most times are the families. And I also want to recognize someone who I spent the last about 3 months of his life getting to know, and he was someone who was an inspiration to me for not only the Right to Try bill, but also the End-of-Life Options bill. And that was a physician, a primary care physician in Fort Collins, Dr. Charlie Hatchett. I was lucky enough to know him in the last several months of ALS before he passed away. And he wanted to be a part of making policy here and passing laws, but he was confined to a wheelchair, could barely move at all, and it took everything out of him just to make a 3-minute video in regards to the End-of-Life Options bill. And I was lucky enough to get to know him for those 3 months. You know, he took this, he wasn't sad, he accepted what he had, but he knew what his demise was. And to the very end, he remained sharp and wanted things to, he wanted people to have a choice as far as medications and the availability of medications. And so to you, Charlie Hatchett, and to all of the people that suffer from this terrible, debilitating disease, I hope pharmaceutical companies will reach out more to be able to provide experimental drugs that may help people, may be a cure. It should be a choice, and hopefully in research, through research, we will find a cure soon. Thank you both for this resolution, and I stand in full support. Thank you.
Representative Sias.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and appreciate the thanks from colleagues here, but I would be really remiss if I did not thank the folks who did the lion's share of the work on making this resolution and this day happen. I can already see Quincy in the back trying to head for the exits here, but my aide last year, Taylor, who's in DU Law School, who could not be here today, Quincy, who was my intern last year and is my aide this year, and then Hayden, who's probably not in the room right now, but is my current intern. They have done the lion's share of the work on this and attacked this with a real passion and a dedication. And frankly, without them, it would not have happened. So when you get a moment, please see them around. Please acknowledge them.
Representative Singer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I would also be remiss in not excluding folks as well. And thanks to not only Representative Sias and his aides for their passion, but Paola, you've been very helpful as well. And I don't mean to end on a down note, so I won't. There is incredible strength and perseverance and ingenuity and creativity that is coming out of this horrible disease. The perseverance that you see in these families and the willingness to do everything possible, not just for their families, but for the next family down the line. And so one more thing that we can all do that's a little bit more fun than maybe an ice bucket challenge is there's a group called ALES for ALS. And I don't know if we still have a beer caucus, but if we do, I hope that we go to CB and Potts in August or Cerebral Brewing at a date to be determined. They'll be having a special brew with $1 of every pint being donated to the ALS Therapy Development Institute. So with that, I renew our motion to adopt House Joint Resolution 1019.
Okay. Thank you so much. The question before us is a passage of HJR 1019. All of those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed signify by saying no. HJR 1019 is passed. Representative Sias.
Madam Speaker, I move that the current roll call be added as co-sponsors of HJR 1019.
Seeing no objection, the current roll call will be added as co-sponsors of HJR 1019. Thank you so much for bringing forward this resolution and everybody who's here to make sure there's awareness of ALS and members. Thank you so much for sharing your stories as well. Madam Majority Leader Becker. Message from the Senate.
Madam Speaker, the Senate has adopted and transmits herewith Senate Joint Resolution 25.
Introduction of resolution.
Senate Joint Resolution 25 by Senator Lundberg, also Representative Buck, concerning the recognition and commendation of the people of Colorado on the 100th anniversary of the incorporation of the town of Estes Park, Colorado.
Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move to suspend the rules for immediate consideration of SJR 25.
Seeing no objection, the rules will be suspended for the immediate consideration of SJR 25. Representative Buck.
Thank you very, very much, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, I move for the adoption of Resolution SJR 17025 and request that it be read at length.
Whereas, for over 150 years, Estes Park, Colorado has been a destination for people to recreate and enjoy the natural beauty of the Colorado Rocky Mountain landscape. And whereas 102 years ago, President Woodrow Wilson signed the legislation creating Rocky Mountain National Park, adjacent to Estes Park, long since recognized as one of the crown jewels of the nation's national park system. And whereas 100 years ago, a group of citizens and officials in Colorado displayed great foresight in organizing and incorporated the town of Estes Park to serve the growing needs of those living and visiting the area. And whereas over the same period, the town of Estes Park has played an important role in the development of outdoor recreation and the tourism economy of the state of Colorado. And whereas Estes Park is home of many iconic landmarks, including the Stanley Hotel, the inspiration for Stephen King's book, The Shining, the historic Park Theater, the oldest continuously operating movie theater west of the Mississippi, the Baldpate Inn with its collection of over 20,000 unique and unusual keys, the Alva B. Adams Tunnel, the Colorado Big Thompson Water Project, among other historic sites. And whereas more than 1 century later, Estes Park and Rocky Mountain National Park are the most popular attraction in Colorado, drawing 4.5 million annual visitors to its mountain beauty and recreational opportunities. And whereas the beauty of Estes Park lies not just in its natural setting, wonder, and wildlife, but in the vibrant and resilient mountain-strong character of its people. And whereas it is the mission of the town of Estes Park to provide high-quality, reliable services for the benefit of our citizens, guests, and employees, while being good stewards of public resources and our natural setting. And whereas this anniversary marks the celebration of more than 100 years of work by many current and former residents of this special community, and offers the community the exciting opportunity to think about and plan for the equally bright future that lies ahead. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate of the 71st General Assembly of the State of Colorado, the House of Representatives concurring herein, that the Colorado General Assembly honors the 100th anniversary of the incorporation of the town of Estes Park, recognizes more than 100 years of work by many committed Estes Park citizens, and commends the town of Estes Park and its residents and guests for their dedication to protecting and guiding the quality growth of this special corner of Colorado and the United States. Be it further resolved, the copies of this joint resolution be sent to the Mayor of Estes Park, Todd A. Jersa, the Town Administrator of Estes Park, Frank Lancaster, and Governor John Hickenlooper.
Representative Buck.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And how many people here have not been to Estes Park? Oh, my goodness. Well, this magazine is for you, because I have to tell you, as we know, Estes Park, if you've been there, is the most wonderful, wonderful little town. 100 years ago, this group of citizens created Estes Park because they knew they had something. And for those who don't know, our wonderful Connor Randall was actually a tour guide for the Stanley Hotel over 5 years, and he does know where all the buried people are. He has seen some scary things that I'm sure he would be happy to share with you. Also, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the Cherry Store. The Cherry Store, I mean, you need those antioxidants. Go to the Cherry Store, get that jug of cherry juice. And then my favorite is the Stitching Den. But please, please attend or come up to Estes Park. I know that they would love to see you. And Madam Speaker, can I make introductions of the people that are here today?
That's fine. We did it for the other resolution. Right after this, members, we're going to take a break so we can greet our guests. And Representative Buck, please proceed.
So I'd like to welcome Frank Lancaster, who is our town administrator. If you could please all stand. Travis Makalek, assistant town administrator. Todd Jersa, our wonderful mayor of Estes Park. Wendy Koenig, mayor pro tem, thank you for being here. Cody Walker, a trustee. John Nicholas, CEO and president of Estes Park Economic Development. Elizabeth Fogarty, just a bundle of joy. She's the president of the Visit Estes Park, and her comrade is Zach Scanlon, the youth of boards and reps at Visit Estes Park. And as you know, the weather could be terrible, 5-foot drifts, but nothing stops the mountain-strong people of Estes Park. Please give them a warm welcome. Thank you.
Representative McCain.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and indeed, welcome, and thank you for being here. As the representative of Loveland, you know, often we describe to people we sit at the bottom of the road that goes to Estes Park. And it is still the road that goes to Estes Park, and I rise not only in support of this resolution, but also to remind you that come Memorial Day, you can drive Highway 34 again. And thanks to one of the most remarkable contracting companies, Kiewit, these people are my heroes. They do more work in quicker time than anybody I know. And our hearts go out to them. Our hearts go out also to the people of Glen Haven, all up and down the canyon, up to Drake. They have suffered for 4 years from the floods, and we cannot wait to have a short drive up to see our friends in Estes Park and come spend money in your town. Thank you for being here.
Representative Salazar.
Grub steak and the cherry pie store. Grub steak. If you go to Estes Park, you have to eat a grub steak. Oh my God. And then following that up with the cherry pie store. So what happens, let me tell you what happens. The heavens open up and you hear angels singing as that good grub steak food is in your tummy, and then you complement it with the cherry pie, right? You know. I'm telling you, it's a divine experience. Love Estes Park. My family and I go up there multiple times a year, particularly for the 4th of July to watch the fireworks. It's an amazing experience. The people up there are fantastic. It's very busy, which is an an indicator of how amazing Estes Park is. Thank you very much for being here, and thank you, Representative Buck, for bringing this.
Representative Singer.
Well, moving from the meat eater to the vegetarian, thank you, Madam Speaker. I know Representative McKeon mentioned, you can always take, I guess, Highway 34, but but 36 is great too, folks. I represent Lyons and Allens Park, right at the foot of Estes Park. And, there's more than one way to get to the town of Estes Park. And if you get a chance, get through that hedge maze that they're putting up in front of the Stanley before it gets too tall. Otherwise, you're never going to see me again. But thank you so much, Representative Buck, for bringing this. Estes is such a wonderful place, and I know Representative McKeon mentioned the flood recovery, but the town is doing great. The one thing that really is getting in the way is just that fear that maybe they're not doing so great. They're alive, they're thriving. Come up, spend your money, get some pie, maybe get some steak too, and stay a little while too. Thank you.
Representative Janal.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Representative Buck, and welcome to all the Estes Park folks here today from Fort Collins. I try to go up to Estes Park quite a bit during the summertime. It's a great motorcycle ride from Fort Collins up to Estes Park, and also to go hiking up in Rocky Mountain National Park. But I also want to mention, everybody's mentioning all this good food, and yes, there's a lot of great restaurants there. But there are also great stores. There are also great outdoor stores and bookstores and, the rock stores, where you get all your rocks and minerals. You can go browsing around in those stores. It's fun. Kids like it too. And so I just want to say welcome and thank you, and hopefully we will be sending more people up there from Fort Collins and all around this state to help you guys out. So thank you, Representative Buck, for bringing this resolution. I stand in full support. Thanks.
All right. Representative Buck?
Well, I'd be remiss if I didn't say Glen Haven has just captured my heart. They are just an incredible group of people. But, Madam Speaker, I move that the current roll call... Did you vote?
Oh, nope, we got to vote. So the question before us is the passage of SJR 25. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed signify by saying no. SJR 25 is passed. Representative Buck.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I move that the current roll call be added as co-sponsors.
Seeing no objection, the current roll call will be added as co-sponsors. Members, we're going to take a 10-minute break so we can greet our guests. So with that, the House will stand in recess. House will come back to order. Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move to proceed out of order for the consideration of general orders, second reading of bills.
Seeing no objection, we'll proceed out of order for the consideration of general order, second reading of bills. Representative Kennedy. All right, members, you have heard the motion. Seeing no objection, Representative Kennedy will take the chair.
The committee will come to order. With your unanimous consent, the bills will be read by title unless there is a request for reading a bill at length. Committee amendments will not be read unless requested, as they are printed in your bill folders. Floor amendments will be shown on the screen and on your iPads and not read unless requested. Bills will be laid over upon the motion of the majority leader, and the coat rule is relaxed. Did I bang the gavel at the wrong time? Did I bang it again? Okay. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1003.
House Bill 1003 by Representative McLaughlin, House Senator Quorum, concerning a strategic plan to address teacher shortages in Colorado.
Representative McLaughlin.
Thank you, Representative Kennedy. I move House Bill 1003, and there are no committee reports.
To the bill.
This bill is really good for kids. It asks for a strategic plan to be completed for a study about why teachers are not applying to work in Colorado schools or applying to teacher education programs.
Is there any further discussion?
Yeah, I move amendment L001 to the bill, please. And would you please?
Thank you.
Thank you.
The amendment is properly before us. Please proceed.
This is a friendly amendment. It includes charter schools into the description of schools.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment L001? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L001 to House Bill 1003. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendment passes. To the bill.
Thank you. Okay, to the bill. Oh, does
If you'd like.
Okay. I did discuss. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. I urge an aye vote on this very important bill for students.
Representative Wilson.
What a surprise.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Representative McLaughlin, for bringing this bill. Strangely enough, folks, I fully support the bill. I vote against it. This is one of those situations where this is not rocket science. I've got 6 words to describe what this bill does, what it's going to find. Not enough, need more, now what? We already know what the issues are. We know where the problems exist. And one of the things that really got to me on this bill was higher ed saying, we're really glad you brought this bill so we can do something. And I'm thinking, there's no anchor tying them down anyway. They could do this without it. We've done too little for too long. And as I said, I'm really torn by this because I love the bill. We're finally putting a focus on it, but it just puts off until December a study that's going to find the same things that I just mentioned. Not enough, we need more, now what? So we've got to move on this, folks. It's a difference between looking at the shortage that we have in education across the state, some 3,000 difference between those who are retiring and those who are coming out of the education higher institutions of learning, That's one issue. The other issue is for rural areas like Representative Becker back there and my areas and so forth, where you have zero, nada applicants for a teaching position. We've got a crisis. We've got a crisis. And again, I really appreciate your shining the spotlight on that, Representative McLaughlin. But as I said, we don't need to wait till December to find out what I just mentioned. Thank you.
Representative Leonard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We did get to hear this bill in committee the other day, and I rise in opposition to this. For us to allocate time and money and resources to be able to study a problem while it has reached critical steps to be able to find public school teachers, we in this body put a lot of restrictions on what happens inside that school room, all the way from teachers being licensed, and we try to even open up in some of the rural areas a hole that allows certified teachers rather than licensed teachers to be able to increase our pool. And also all the bills that we heard this year about discipline and the lack thereof, or what we can and can't do, the testing that we have. We do know that some of the problem is that we've created, by our micromanaging of the classrooms, we've created an environment that the teachers aren't as fulfilled as they were in teaching children that they were many years ago, rather than coming home and saying, I had a thrilling day today teaching whatever age it was. Now we've created that environment inside the classroom that the teachers aren't as excited as they were in the past. There's a lot of restrictions that are going on, and so studying an issue that is right in front of us that the free market can obviously handle in a quick way is not the way for us to go. We should be able to allow the school districts and the schools to be able to solve the problem that they know that's in front of them, and our number one issue should be to back off our regulations from this body into the classroom. So thank you for being a no vote on this bill.
Representative McLaughlin.
I appreciate your support. Yep, we've done the studies. Now we just need to get working on doing something about them. You guys have had plenty of time to do this, and you haven't, so I'm moving this forward. My bill is great. So, and I urge an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1003. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1003 passes.
Thank you.
Mr. Randall, please read the title to House Bill 1185.
House Bill 1185 by Representative Singer, all Senator Smallwood, concerning reports of suspected child abuse or neglect.
Representative Singer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 1185. There is no committee report.
To the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. House Bill 1185 clarifies the situation that's been happening in our human service departments to ensure that employees of our human service departments actually report suspected abuse and neglect when they reasonably suspect it. This heads off a problem that we've actually unfortunately had, where we've even had county directors of human services not reporting some of the most egregious incidents out there. While most of our employees are out there doing the right thing, this puts a little belt and suspenders on this. However, there was one change that the counties brought up in terms of the concern about the implementation date. So with that, I move Amendment L006 and ask that it properly be displayed.
The amendment is properly before us. Please proceed.
Thank you. All this does is push out the implementation date by several months. Instead of September, it'll be by the end of the year. This will give all our counties the appropriate amount of time to catch up administratively with what we're asking them to do. Even though there is an online training that takes about an hour, we wanted to make sure that all employees were aware of this and all counties were aware of this, and I ask for an aye vote on L006.
Is there any further discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L006 to House Bill 1185. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the amendment passes. To the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. With that, I won't belabor this any further. I just renew my motion for House Bill 1185 as amended and ask for your yes vote.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1185. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1185 passes. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1246.
House Bill 1246 by Representative Kraft Tharp, House Senators Tate and Garcia, concerning implementation of the STEMI Task Force recommendations relating to reporting confirmed heart attack incidents in the state.
Representative Kraft Tharp.
Thank you. I move House Bill 1246 and the committee report.
To the committee report.
Thank you. So the committee adopted some technical language changes. I ask for your support.
Representative Melton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I ask for committee ruling under Rule 61.
The House will stand in a brief recess. The committee will come to order. Representative Melton's motion is out of order. Representative Kraft Tharp.
So this actually is a very serious subject around helping STEMI heart patients, and so I ask for your support on the committee report.
Is there any further discussion on the committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the House Health Insurance and Environment Committee report. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the committee report is adopted. To the bill.
Thank you. So I'm really pleased to bring this bill to you, and I'm doing this bill in honor of my aunt, Mary Ann Fay, who had a heart attack when she was 50, and she has spent the last 30 years dedicating her life to ensuring that we are reducing heart attacks, but especially heart attacks in women. And so for me, this is doing this bill for a very special woman. So in 2013, the General Assembly passed Senate Bill 225, which created a task force to address the coordination of care for STEMI patients in Colorado. This bill follows through on those recommendations. It does three things. One, it calls for all hospitals that choose to be accredited by the American College of Cardiology as STEMI receiving centers to submit information related to door-to-balloon times and the cardiac system of care to NCDR Action Registry. Two, it encourages all PCI centers that are not accredited STEMI receiving centers to also participate in the above process. And three, it allows the Department of Public Health and Environment to request national benchmarking information and ensures compliance with all privacy standards by having through various mechanisms. This is a good bill. This is a bill that will save lives. I ask for your support.
Representative Landgraf.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a serious bill. You've heard the old adage, serious as a heart attack, and that is exactly what this is. So in my former life, I worked at the Cardiovascular Health Research Unit at the University of Washington School of Medicine. And one of our biggest projects was on this very subject. And anybody that had a heart attack, their blood was drawn in the ambulance, and it was put in a freezer, and that was done to gather data. And that's what this does. This gathers data, because when you have data, when you have information, you can change your processes. You can figure out how to improve what you're doing. And that's exactly the point of this for these hospitals, so that they can determine what's working and how to tweak what they're doing to make it better. I think this is very important. One of the comments that was made is, well, if you're having a heart attack, you're not going to look up and find out what hospital is the best hospital to go to. Of course not. But the EMTs know. When they pick you up in Colorado Springs, they know which hospital to take you to if you're having a stroke. They know which hospital to send you to if you're having a heart attack. They know that because data has been gathered and information has been put out as to which hospital does the best things on which things. And I think that's something that we want to continue.
I am a yes on this bill. I think research, data gathering is always a good thing. Please vote yes.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1246. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1246 passes. Mr. Randall, please read the title to House Bill 1209.
House Bill 1209 by Representatives Melton and Carver concerning peace officer designation for the manager of the Office of Prevention and Security within the Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Management in the Department of Public Safety.
Representative Melton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 1209. There are no committee reports.
To the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What 1209 does is it really does is a simple cleanup within the Department of Public Safety with giving a peace officer status to the office to the director of the Office of Prevention and Security. A few years ago, we had to make some changes with Homeland Security on who had peace officer status and who didn't. For basically the paperwork and procedural things, we needed to make sure that re-grant peace officer status so that way they had access to certain reports.
Representative Carver.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And one of the reasons for this bill is that peace officer status is necessary for the person in this position to actually do his job, to have access to certain information where the prerequisite is peace officer status. So again, this is a cleanup bill. This position used to have this status. It was inadvertently left off, and so this is just to add that back in, and we ask for your yes vote.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of Representative Liston.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Maybe Representative Melton or Representative Carver, I was looking at the fiscal note and I'm astounded by the huge increase. The fiscal note of the $150. Could one of you please explain that to me? No. It's okay. Never mind.
It would appear that no one wants to explain it to Representative Liston. Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1209. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. House Bill 1209 passes. Mr. Randall, please read the title to Senate Bill 36.
Senate Bill 36 by Senators Scott and Quorum, also Representatives Arndt and Becker J. concerning the appellate process governing a district court's review of final agency actions concerning groundwater.
Representative Becker J.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Senate Bill 36 and the House Judiciary Report.
To the committee report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The committee just streamlined the process, actually made it better for designated basin appellate water process. Ask for an aye vote.
Representative Arndt? Oh, nope. All right. Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of the Judiciary Committee report. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee report passes. To the bill, Representative Arndt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Senate Bill 1736.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 36. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Senate Bill 36 passes. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 177.
Senate Bill 177 by Senator Cook, also Representative Rosenthal, concerning amending the definition of special respondent in the Children's Code to allow a person to be voluntarily joined in a dependency or neglect proceeding.
Representative Rosenthal.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I move House Bill 177, and there is no committee report.
But would you like to move Senate Bill 177?
Did I say House Bill?
Sure did.
Oh, I apologize, Mr. Chair. That should be $1 fine. I will fine myself $1 for that.
Works for me.
I move Senate Bill 177, and there is no committee report.
Thank you, Representative Rosenthal. To the bill.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is a, I'm going to say it. This is a fairly simple bill. So what this bill does is when you have instances of dependency and neglect cases in court. What this would allow the court to do by a judge's decision is to allow for voluntary respondents to be joined in a case. And of course, voluntary respondents are folks who are interested in the case, who wish to be involved in it, who have a role in the child's life. And obviously, these folks will be joined to the case if the court determines that they are in the best interest of the child. So ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 177. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Senate Bill 177 passes. Mr. Randall, please read the title to House Bill 1229.
House Bill 1229 by Representative Singer and Becker J. All Senators Cook and Todd concerning a clarification of when a worker may be compensated for a claim of mental impairment for a psychologically traumatic event under workers' compensation.
Representative Singer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 1229, and there is no committee report.
To the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This bill is a long time coming. I want to thank Representative Becker for his time in putting his thought into this. This is a bipartisan bill dealing with post-traumatic stress. When our protectors are out there, they're subjected to some of the hardest, most traumatic events that you've ever seen. PTSD isn't just a term about having a hard day. It's not about having a bad week. It's not even about remembering something that happened a couple years ago, maybe the worst thing in your life. It's about being stuck in that moment, almost permanently. Being stuck in the moment where you can't shake the ghosts that you've seen. Stuck in a moment where you can't remove the thought of a dead body, the thought of a serious injury, a gruesome event, the Aurora Theater shooting, the Columbine massacre from your mind, even when you come home. When you come home and see the faces of your kids, you don't see the faces of your kids anymore. You see the faces of dead bodies. This bill says, regardless of your profession, every single person has the right to apply for workers' compensation to get the time off that they need when they've been struck by the ghosts of oblivion. Once again, I just want to thank the members of the business community, the members of the insurance industry that came with us, the Fraternal Order of Police for sticking with us for 3 years to get to the point today where we can talk about this. And I'm going to move away from talking about PTSD as a disorder. This is an injury that we can move away from, an injury that we can heal from when it's dealt with quickly and efficiently and in the right way. And that is what this bill does. This bill allows us to protect those that have sworn to protect us. And I ask for an aye vote.
Representative Jay Becker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'd like to thank Representative Singer for sticking with this for 3 years now, is my understanding. Thank you so much for doing that. Members, I think Rep. Singer said it very well, but this is about getting help to the people that help us and making sure that they have access to that help and a clear path to getting it. Ask for your aye vote.
Is there any further discussion? Representative Singer.
Thank you. And at the risk of ending on a sour note, I just want to say this. When you do get the help that you need, you can recover. So instead of imagining the terrible situations that I just brought up, imagining coming back to your family after struggling with an illness and just having a regular day at dinner, being able to go to sleep again and not being afraid of the nightmares, being able to wake up in the morning and not have your pulse threading and your heart rate and your blood pressure through the roof. And so with that, I renew my motion, and I thank you all for your attention.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1229. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. House Bill 1229 passes. Mr. Randall, please read the title to Senate Bill 142.
Senate Bill 142 by Senator Williams, also Representative Danielson, concerning the requirement to include notification to a patient regarding the patient's breast tissue classification with the required mammography report.
Representative Danielson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's an honor to serve with you.
And an honor to serve with you.
Good morning, colleagues. It's nice to be here with you today. I move Senate Bill 142, and there is no committee report.
To the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, I think that we can all agree that the fight against breast cancer is important and one that far too many Coloradans face. Early detection is an important piece of the battle against this terrible disease. Patients should have all of the tools they can when it comes to making as informed decisions as possible. Identifying risk factors and options for treatments are critical to each patient. One risk factor in breast cancer is dense breast tissue. When a mammogram comes back with evidence of dense breast tissue, currently there's no consistent manner in which the patient is notified. This bill solves that problem. It requires each patient receives notification, a standard notification that informs the patient and encourages further conversations with their doctor to determine the best course of action. It's an educational tool to assist in early detection and a more successful battle against breast cancer. I appreciate your time today, and I urge an aye vote on Senate Bill 142.
Is there any further discussion? Representative Ransom.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I heard this bill in committee, and what I said at the time was I thanked Representative Danielson for bringing the bill, as in I want everybody to have the information that will help them with their own personal physical conditions. I always want women to have, and men too, I want everybody to have the information. But there were issues that I found with the canned language that we would send, that the radiologists would send. I also checked with some of the senators that voted no on this bill. As you see, it came out very split out of the Senate. And what I was told by one of the doctors that voted no on the bill is that there really isn't anything that women can do if they have the dense tissue, and that since up to 50% of the women have dense breast tissue, it could very easily create some very scary thoughts for them, and then no way to resolve it. So that was one of my reasons for voting no. I also feel like radiologists and doctors are in the business of curing. They're in the business of helping their patients. They want to help their patients, and if there are alternative treatments or alternative tests that these women need, that the doctors and radiologists will work with the women, and that we, the government, don't need to tell them they have to, and that we don't have to start getting in the middle of the radiologists and their patients and telling them how to notify them of any situation or findings in their mammograms. And finally, I guess what I came down to was I also want women in this case, but all patients, I want them to be responsible. I want them, when you go in for any type of a diagnostic test, you should read up. You should ask questions. You should find out what the potential findings are, and not necessarily depend on the government to have a canned response to tell you what something may or may not mean for you specifically. And I just think that we get to the point that the government is, again, getting in between doctors and their patients on the dense breast tissue findings, but also just the overall point of how involved do we want to encourage patients to be. So I will vote no again when we see this bill on thirds.
Representative Danielson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm really glad that Representative Ransom brought up some of these issues. First of all, we heard from gynecologists, radiologists, family practitioners, all kinds of medical providers that this is a necessary move, because what happens when a patient receives the notification that there's dense breast tissue, that is indeed a risk factor, but needs to be treated with the kind of attention by the individual patient and her healthcare provider that it deserves. The problem, even one doctor said that she provides medical care in 3 different hospitals, which have 3 different policies or a lack thereof when it comes to dense breast tissue notification. So the problem is for the patient, she's not receiving adequate information. The problem for the patient is that without this bill, there is no consistent standard in notifying the patient, so she doesn't have this information. What it says is, dense breast tissue is common and not abnormal. However, dense breast tissue can make it harder to evaluate the results of your mammogram and may also be associated with an increased risk of breast cancer. This information about the results of your mammogram is given to you to raise your awareness and to inform your conversations with your doctor. Together, you can decide which screening options are right for you. A report of your results was sent to your physician. So this is in no way interference from the government. This is making sure that the patient is protected and that he or she has the information that he or she needs to seek further treatment if she and her doctor decide that that's the right thing to do. The other thing the doctors in the committees testified to was that this is also a critical piece, that patients receive their test results days after their exam, and so they don't receive the results in the room with their doctor to discuss them on site. They get the results later, and so this encourages them to follow up on the results of their tests, communicate with their doctor about what's best for them, and either seek further treatment or don't. But the doctors themselves came and said, with this language, it's enough of an assurance to the patient that she has the information she needs to move forward with her doctor in consultation, and that it is not unnecessarily alarming. The language that we settled on was the result of a lengthy stakeholder process that took into consideration the needs of the patient in unnecessarily alarming her, but at the same time acknowledging the risk factor that is real that presents with dense breast tissue. Unlike other risk factors, such as family health history, a patient is not aware of whether or not she has dense breast tissue without this kind of screening. That is why the doctors themselves came and said it is really necessary to notify them in a uniform way and be respectful so as to not unnecessarily alarm the patient, but alert them that this is a risk factor they may not be aware of. We're providing information to all Colorado patients so that they can take it into consideration for themselves whether or not they feel it's important enough to seek further treatment. We're providing them with the necessary tools to make decisions about their own health care. And like I said, that is something that the radiologists, multiple breast cancer advocates, meaning advocates in the fight against breast cancer, gynecological providers, and a lot of medical professionals came to us to say, we need you to do this to protect our patients. I urge an aye vote.
Representative Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The reason I wanted to talk a little bit about this bill is because I am a breast cancer survivor. And thank you, Representative Danielson, for bringing it. This is actually a good discussion about this issue because I had some of those screenings. In fact, after losing my husband to cancer, I didn't trust the local mammogram, so I went on to Colorado Springs and had the 3D thing done, or the highest you could get at that time. And the doctor showed me the breast, the dense tissue, and at that time we decided that it wasn't anything. If I would have paid a little bit more attention, and sometimes things fall through the cracks no matter how much government we add on, and they don't mean to. Everyone is just human, and they're doing the best they can. But if we would have done something about my mammogram, the one from Colorado Springs back then, I probably wouldn't have felt the lump that I did 3 years ago, and then went through extensive treatment and months of all kinds of things, 2 surgeries. So I guess I'm just really glad to have this discussion. Representative Wilson sat in committee for me the other day because I had family surprise me, and I was so glad to have them here that I didn't go to committee. But anyway, I guess it is a huge issue, and unfortunately, because we feel like we're not getting to where we need to be. I'm sure that's why she brought the bill. And I applaud her for that, because women, it is a tough deal. Down in my part of the world, southeast Colorado, breast cancer is an epidemic. It's not just a situation, it's an epidemic. And we've all had to make choices as to what kind of treatments and where. I couldn't get help here in Denver, so I actually had my surgery in Amarillo, Texas, because I live halfway between Amarillo and Denver. And then I came back to Denver to try to get treatment. I even flew to Phoenix, Cancer Treatment Centers of America, and I chose to go a whole different route. But ladies and gentlemen, this is a huge, huge issue. Men can get breast cancer as well. And please look at the bill. Thank you, Representative Danielson, for bringing it. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Representative Michelson-Jeannet.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's an honor to serve with you.
It's an honor to serve with you.
And Representative Danielson and Representatives Ransom and Lewis, thank you so much for speaking on this bill, and thank you for bringing this bill. I stand before you also as a survivor of breast cancer and the daughter of a survivor of breast cancer. And while my situation was not dense breast tissue, my mother's was. And in all of the cancer situations, the more information you have, the better armed you are to make positive decisions. As in any of the other health matters that we women, and as Representative Lewis mentioned, this does not only impact women, but as we go through our life and make decisions on our continuing health care, we constantly seek information. When my mother was undergoing her testing, it was a fluke that they discovered the 3 cancer cells in her left breast. And at that time, when they didn't have information or they weren't giving information on dense breast tissue, my mother insisted that they remove her right breast as well.
Excuse me, Representative Michelson-Jeannet. Members, if you could please keep your conversations to a dull roar. Representative Michelson-Jeannet.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So as my mother made the decision to have her right breast removed, they discovered that it was completely riddled with cancer. It was hiding, they couldn't see it, they wouldn't have known that it was there. Today, we don't have to be in the dark about these things, and with the understanding of what our tissue is, we can make wise decisions to save the lives of ourselves, our parents, our children, and our husbands, as the case may be. So I'm very grateful to you for bringing this bill, and I know that my family will benefit directly, as will many others, and I strongly encourage and I vote. Thank you.
Representative Landgraf.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I support this bill because my mother and my aunt died of breast cancer. And I keep thinking that if they had mammograms back then, it wasn't like that long ago, but if they had had all this additional technology and information, maybe that wouldn't have happened. I think anything we can do to help move the needle, and as Representative Lewis said as she was walking back, if we save one woman, it's worth it. Representative Ransom is not wrong. I mean, it's great. We need to take personal responsibility. We need to do all this stuff. But everybody doesn't do that. And everybody's not always in the position to do that. In Colorado Springs, which, unlike Rep. Lewis, we have all the physicians and all the, everything available to us. But I don't see a doctor. I go in, they do the test, the technician says the picture worked, go home, and I get a letter. I never see a radiologist. I don't see any sort of follow-up unless there's a problem, at which point I get a call to come back in and have another picture taken, and I do that. But it's the same radiologist or the same technologist who takes the picture, says the picture worked, go home, and wait for your letter. So we don't all have the same processes available to us. So I think this is a very good step in the right direction. And thank God for your mother finding that out.
Representative Danielson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to wrap up by thanking everybody for their comments today. That's right, Representative Landgraf. It's a good way to end this discussion. It's a step, it's a small step, but it's an important step in giving men and women across the state an educational tool that allows them to make the best decisions possible for themselves in consultation with their docs about their treatment. And I urge your support today on Senate Bill 142. Thank you so much.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 142. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senate Bill 142 passes. Mr. Randall, please read the title to Senate Bill 178.
Senate Bill 178 by Senator Marble, also Representative Melton, concerning prohibiting a court from requiring a medical marijuana patient to abstain from the use of marijuana as a condition of bond.
Representative Melton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Senate Bill 178. There are no committee reports, and I ask for an aye vote.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? Representative Salazar. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 178. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. No. The ayes have it by a narrow margin. Senate Bill 178 passes. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to lay over Senate Bill 17 till April 3rd.
Are there any objections? Seeing none, Senate Bill 17 will be laid over as requested by the Majority Leader. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to lay over Senate Bill 184 till Monday, March 27th.
Is there any objection? Seeing none, Senate Bill 184 will be laid over as requested by the Majority Leader. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that we rise and report.
You have heard the motion. Seeing no objection, the committee will rise and report.
House will come to order. Representative Kennedy. Members, you have, you need to. Oh, thank you, Representative Kennedy. I jumped the gun a little bit. Mr. Randall, will you please read the report of the Committee of the Whole?
Madam Speaker, your Committee of the Whole begs lead to report that has under its consideration the following attached bills, being a second reading thereof, makes the following recommendations thereon. House Bill 1003 is amended, House Bill 1185 is amended, House Bill 1209, House Bill 1229, House Bill 1246 is amended, passed on second reading or engrossed, placed on the counter for third reading, final passage. Senate Bill 36 is amended, Senate Bill 142, Senate Bill 177, Senate Bill 178, passed on second reading or revised, placed on the counter for third reading, final passage. Senate Bill 184 laid over until March 27, 2017, retaining its place on the calendar. Senate Bill 17 laid over until April 3rd, 2017, retaining its place on the calendar.
All right, members, you have heard the motion. There are no amendments at the desk. Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote on the report of the Committee of the Whole.
Madam Speaker, we'll do third reading now. Ready to do third? Okay.
Representative Van Winkle. Please close the machine. With 58 yes votes, 2 no votes, and 5 excused, the report of the Committee of the Whole is adopted. All right, members, that takes us, oh, hold on. Members, that takes us to third reading of bills, final passage. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 65.
Senate Bill 65 by Senator Lumbergos, Representative Valentine, concerning requirement that healthcare providers disclose the charge they impose for common healthcare services when payment is made directly rather than by a third party.
Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 65 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 65 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Randall, please open the machine. Please close the machine. With 51 yes votes, 9 no votes, and 5 excused, Senate Bill 65 is passed. Co-sponsors. Co-sponsors. Co-sponsors for transparency. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1155.
House Bill 1155 by Representative Thurlow, Senator Gardner, concerning the ability to cure campaign finance reporting deficiencies without penalty.
Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I believe I called you Madam Chair last time. I apologize.
That's okay.
I move for the passage of House Bill 1155 on third reading and final passage.
Question before us is the passage of House Bill 1155 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Randall, please open the machine. Please close the machine. With 38 yes votes, 22 no votes, 5 excused, House Bill 1155 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1203.
House Bill 1203 by Representative Lebsack, Senator Martinez, Jimenez, and Crowder, concerning the authority of certain local governments to levy a special sales tax on retail marijuana in certain circumstances subject to voter approval by the eligible electors of the local government.
Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move for the passage of House Bill 1203 on third reading and final passage.
Thank you. Representative Lebsack.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And members, this is a really important bill that we passed today, and I'll tell you the reason why. There was an appellate court case decision in December of last year that stated the following: counties do not have the authority by the state constitution, nor do counties have the authority granted in state statute to have a special sales tax on marijuana. This bill passed out of the local government committee 13-0 because it's good policy. This bill has been in the making for 3 years. This bill, as our colleagues know, prevents double taxation within a city unless we have an intergovernmental agreement between the two parties, the county and the city. It also grants counties the same authority that we have with home rule cities within the unincorporated areas of counties. Members, this bill is thoughtful. This bill is the right thing to do. It prevents double taxations within cities, and it also requires an intergovernmental agreement along with a vote of the people to have a second tax within a city. And so please vote yes.
Representative Salazar is not speaking. The question before us is a passage of House Bill 1203. I don't say that often. The question before... Love you, Joe. The question before us is the passage of House Bill 1203 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Randall, please open the machine. Representative Van Graff. Please close the machine. With 53 yes votes, 7 no votes, 5 excused, House Bill 1203 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 106.
Senate Bill 106 by Senators Aguilar and Cornum, also Representative Singer, concerning the continuation of the regulation of naturopathic doctors by the Director of the Division of Professions and Occupations of the Department of Regulatory Agencies, and in connection therewith implementing the Department's Sunset Review recommendations.
Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I got it right. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 106 on third reading and final passage.
All right, the question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 106 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Randall, please open the machine. Please close the machine. With 42 yes votes, 18 no votes, and 5 excused, Senate Bill 106 is passed. Co-sponsors. Wait. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1233.
House Bill 1233 by Representative Arnall, Senator Crowder, concerning protection of the historical consumptive use of analysis of a water right involved in a water conservation program.
Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of House Bill 1233 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is the passage of House Bill 1233 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Randall, please open the machine. Please close the machine. With 41 yes votes, 20 no votes, and 4 excused, House Bill 1233 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Madam Majority Leader. Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to lay over the balance of the calendar. They do it again?
That was a third time. Goodness, the first time's okay. Second time, my goodness, the 3 times. Yeah, I think that deserves a fine. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
That'll be a $1 fine.
Oh. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I appreciate the leniency.
It is Friday. It's been quite the week.
I move to lay over the balance of the calendar till Monday, March 27th.
All right. Seeing no objection, the balance of the calendar will be laid over, which takes us to announcements and introductions. Announcements and introductions. Representative Singer.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. ALS caucus, it's already starting, but we'll see you in room 112 if you want to join us. Thank you.
Any further announcements or introductions? Any further announcements or introductions? Seeing no further, announcements, introductions? Anybody? Going once, going twice. Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I was just told that the ALS meeting was moved to room 107 in the basement.
Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that the House stand in recess until noon today.
All right, seeing no objection, the House will stand in recess until noon today.